to this story now with unemployment at a worrying 29.1%. President Cyril Ramaphosa has met with role players to build programs to create jobs. I'm joined in studio now by Dr. Kgosientso Ramokgopa, who heads the President's Investment Infrastructure team, to tell us about what is on the cards. Mr. Ramokgopa, thank you very much for your time, because you have SAFTU alongside AMCU, who are saber-rattling ahead of the budget speech to say we are protesting against these austerity measures that we are seeing. The situation looks bleak.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for the invitation. So the intention really is to stimulate demand. I mean, there are adverse economic headwinds. The fiscal headspace is diminishing. So when the President met with heads of multilateral development banks, commercial banks and the DFIs, really the intention is to stimulate demand. So we know that there's a big pool of liquidity, about 140 billion rand, in addition to the fiscals that is available to the country. So the only limitation is the availability of a credible project pipeline. So we are really inviting these players to help us to build the capacity. The technical and financial engineering capacity in the state has been hemorrhaged over a period of time. So we want to create an additional capacity for us to do project preparation and packaging so that they've got this commercial appetite. And we are confident that with the overwhelming response that we got, that we'll be able to achieve that. Come June of this year, we'll be able to release a credible project pipeline that is funded, by the way, going forward. And in that way, you stimulate demand. Industry that has been decimated hitherto is going to be resuscitated, and there's some degree of localization, and therefore you can achieve the areas of industrialization in the country.
You head up specifically the President's Infrastructure Office. I'm interested to hear other key sectors of the economy that could be stimulated. You speak about stimulating this economy.
No, absolutely. So the point is that we are focusing on what we call the network industries, because they create the efficiencies, they open corridors, and they are able to ensure that there's greater participation in the economic space. So in this instance, we're talking rail and ports, we're talking roads, we're talking energy, we're talking water and sanitation, and the President has insisted that we must include agriculture because of its employment absorption capacity, and then we're going to include human settlements. And we think that these are the ones that are going to, if you like, create a conducive environment for us to be able to grow the economy going forward. And in that way, we'll be able to ensure that we open up the economy, create corridors, and stimulate the economy.
Dr. Ramokgopa, at the moment, there is this phenomenon of construction mafia. These are people who say they are veterans of the struggle, who are going to each and every infrastructure program that is out there and demanding a cut. How is government dealing with this?
Well, it's a very disturbing trend, and the President made mention of it in the State of the Nation address, and I think Minister Begikele elaborated on the set of actions that we are going to take. I mean, the computation was done, tens of billions of projects were stalled as a result of this interference. So we think that there are two parts to it. On the first part is that there's genuine entrepreneurs, local communities who really want to participate in projects, and we think that there must be policy clarity from National Treasury about the 30%. But I think what is given is that there must be community participation so that the transformation can take place and you are able to grow the pie. But secondly, what the President has announced in the State of the Nation address, which addresses the second part, is the criminal element, and to say that we are establishing a unit that is just dedicated to dealing with those whose intention is to hijack projects. They don't add value, arrive at the project site and say we want 30% of the project value in cash. I mean, really, you can't have such a situation. And Minister Begikele has elaborated on that. And the construction industry is happy, but we said that they've got an obligation. And that obligation is to ensure that in areas where they operate, there has to be local participation.
How urgent is this unit, Dr. Ramokgopa, that needs to be set up in conjunction with the Minister of Police? How soon does it need to get off the ground? Because listening to the stakeholders in the infrastructure sector, they're saying that this is actually akin to economic sabotage, because projects literally are standing still.
I think that's a correct characterization, and I think the authority in this area is Minister Bekikele, and he has mentioned in the SONA debate that is immediate. So as we speak, I'm sure they are setting up the unit, and I'm sure he'll release the details of that. But all we are saying is that we can't continue on this path. It's undermining confidence, it's decimating the industry, but on the same breath, we are going to ensure that there's localization and local community entrepreneur participation in the build program that we'll be announcing now in June.
Dr. Kgosientso Ramokgopa, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about efforts to try and resuscitate this economy. He heads up the President's Investment Infrastructure Team.